In this video, we'll be comparing the Zeiss Planar ZE 50mm f1.4 with the Canon FD 50mm f1.4. I'm curious to see if a far cheaper lens can hold its own against a much more expensive and better built one. Let's take a look. The Canon FD 50mm is far less expensive than the Zeiss Planar T lens. With a little fungus on the front lens element, I was able to pick mine up for about $35. You can probably expect to spend closer to $100 for a Canon FD in near perfect condition. A brand new Zeiss Planar T ZE 50mm f1.4 costs about $725 brand new and about $500 used. For that much higher price, you will receive an exceptionally well-built lens made entirely from metal and glass. Zeiss lenses are built like tanks, and the Zeiss Planar T ZE is no exception. It's also important to note that this particular lens has electronic contacts to control the aperture using your camera. Even though the Canon FD has a manual aperture, which is better for video, it feels much cheaper, lighter, and more plasticky. The manual aperture ring on the Canon FD is by far my least favorite, since it sticks between each stop, and the breech lock mechanism often locks the aperture blades in place if it's not attached properly to the camera. While the focus ring is smooth and has hard stops on either end, it's not nearly the same quality as the buttery focus pull on the Zeiss Planar T ZE. For this test, I used a Metabones Canon EF to micro four thirds speed booster for the Zeiss Planar lens and a Fotasy Canon FD to micro four thirds adapter for the FD lens. The Metabones adapter widens the focal length 0.71 times, increases the maximum aperture by one stop, and increases the overall sharpness. It's clear from the get-go that the Canon FD looks a little more hazy than the Zeiss ZE. The Zeiss ZE also appears to have much better contrast. The main reason for this may be because there's a multi-layer coating on the front lens element on the Canon FD. The Zeiss ZE also has an anti-flare coating on the front lens element, but the Canon FD's coating adds additional contrast and color balance. This gives the FD a much warmer look over the cooler color of the Zeiss ZE. The Canon FD has 8 aperture blades as opposed to the Zeiss ZE's 9, but that does not seem to make much of a difference, at least for my tests. Realistically, more aperture blades should allow the Zeiss ZE to perform better in bright environments, especially when it's directed at a light source. The Zeiss ZE flares beautifully with a bright beam of light and creates a creamy bokeh background, while the Canon FD looks a little bit busier. Overall, the Zeiss ZE performs better than the Canon FD in my opinion. The images look much sharper across the entire frame, and the color balance appears more natural and unaffected by an added multi-layer coating. The Canon FD, however, packs a lot of character into its inexpensive design. The images have a vintage-looking characteristic, and the lens itself is much cheaper than the Zeiss ZE. Click on the links provided to learn more about these lenses, and as always, feel free to subscribe and visit filmformat.com for more filmmaking reviews and tutorials from yours truly. Thanks for watching.